Hello, and welcome to the first edition of this new optimization podcast. I am Cristina Radu, and I'm a supply chain optimization expert. Many people are curious about my entrepreneurial journey and what made me start, how do I find projects, how is it to start on your own. So I decided to ask a few people from the OR community to share their stories. I think they might be useful. And our first guest is Goran, and he created a company called Dots and Lines. So we will be talking today about how he decided to be a freelancer, how is it to grow a company, about optimization and other related topics. So Goran, welcome. If you want to introduce yourself.
Thanks for the invite. I'm very excited about the podcast you're starting. I think it's a super interesting area that once you get into kind of penetrates all the pores of your life, and then you walk around the city and start seeing world through the prism of framing stuff as optimization problems. So we discussed this joy of optimizing stuff around. Maybe we kind of make it contagious in a good way and make other people aware and happy about this joy of optimization. So super proud to be here, and thanks for the invite. I'm Goran Molnar. Right now, I'm the CEO of a company that we call Dots and Lines, in a clear reference to graph theory, to those who are more mathematical inclined, to those who are maybe more business inclined. It's this reference to networking all around yourself. So connecting the dots in your company, in your organization, in your life in a meaningful and good way. So there are multiple
I'm actually
perspectives.
envious. You have such a good name
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
company.
Thank you so much. Many people told me that it's cool, especially people who like graph theory. It's kind of less present in the discourse in the general public. It's this very niche area of mathematics that I personally really love. Dots and Lines is currently 9 people. We do optimization software, or we sometimes brand ourselves as artificial intelligence that's applied to transportation and scheduling. So in translation, this means that our product, sometimes we jokingly call them AI superpowered calendars. So many people, when we say that we are doing scheduling, think that we are doing some clone of calendar software like Google Calendar or similar tools, which we are not. And the main difference is that unlike Google Calendar, where every meeting and every event must be added manually, our software is essentially artificial intelligence that creates completely functional schedules for your organization on one click of a button. Behind the curtain, there is this optimization algorithm that essentially strives to assemble a schedule that will maximize your business goals or customers' business goals. Usually it's profit or less costs, etc. But also there is environmental concerns, CO2 footprint. There is also always, we are very happy to work with clients who invest a lot into staff happiness. So in essence, these optimization algorithms are trying to maximize the quality of your schedules and your business goals, while always ensuring that the main objectives like respecting the labor law and keeping people safe the basic stuff, optimization people would call them hard constraints, that they're always satisfied. We also do some transportation, it's very interesting. Dots and Lines actually emerged out of my freelancing. So during my PhD studies, I started freelancing just to kind of fill a gap in my budget after I ran out of a budget. And my initial idea was just to keep doing it for a year or two until I finish my PhD and then find a normal work like the normal people do, which is what my mom says. But to my great surprise, initially the projects were not very high quality and high impact, but then we found a first really serious optimization client, then we found the second one. When I say we, back in the day it was essentially just me as a freelancer. After I saw the potential of all this, I abandoned this idea of finding a normal work and just decided to stay in the area, initially still as a freelancer. Then in 2019, with a friend, we incorporated into Dots and Lines, and we were slowly growing, and now it's 9 people, projects across 3 continents, 6 or 7 states. When I was preparing for this podcast, I was kind of thinking about the history of the company, and I was really happy to be in the place where I am today.
Yes, that sounds great indeed. But let's find out a bit more how you started. How did you become interested in computers, in optimization, in programming, if you have a story to share.
Yes, so I always loved computers. Even when I was a kid, I actually didn't have a computer of my own, but I was reading a lot about computers. And probably one of the things that motivated me most to go there is this book from the 80s that it's called Joy of Computers. And it's really amazing. Even after I read it today, after all these decades, it's probably one of the best definitions that are universally understandable, not like formal definitions of NP hardness, for example. And some of the best explanations why optimization algorithms are actually a difficult thing to implement, somewhere between art and science, I would say. So as a kid, I was really fascinated by all these pictures of robots, etc. Also, something I'm still fascinated that it had a lot of, I would say, predictions about the future that came out to be true. So I prepared for this, if I may just briefly share the comic book. It was really impressive to me. So I'm not sure how visible this is, but this is this chapter about Electronic Village. And keep in mind, so this was written in the 80s. What they said is that by the end of the century, people all over the world will be linked in this happy electronic village, where essentially this is what we are doing now. I'm here in Zagreb, Croatia, you are in the Netherlands, and we are recording this podcast more or less the same way that we do like these people here. I also work from a co-working place that they kind of envision is a thing that will exist once people will have the capability of working remotely. So, and it's a great comic book. This is the Italian designer who is sending some upgrades to his schematics of a car design, and then this guy in Japan says, yeah, no problem, I'm sending you the updated costs. And this is something that became more prominent, I would say, especially after the COVID crisis. So e-learning, this is the teacher, or online exercises or online gaming. So I'm really fascinated by this strength of the vision to anticipate all this, still back from the 80s.
Like, impressive how they how they saw what's the future, even when computers were still at the beginning, in the 1980s. It was like 50 years ago. As you said, like, we didn't have computers, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have computers were somewhere in a very big room in an institute, and I don't know, you had to be super highly skilled to manage them. So yeah, I understand that you decided to be a freelancer because you had to finish your PhD, you didn't have funding, so this was like why you decided. So it was not like a passion or conviction, it was more an economical decision, and here you are today. So how does a day look like for you now that you're an entrepreneur and you have people, and what are you doing? How is it going?
Yeah, I think I'm in this very transformational period. So last year, I decided to formally retire as a programmer. I still maybe do some small hobby stuff, but I don't have the capacity to do something that's mission critical and has a strict deadline because situations develop. So I do this job of a CEO where mostly my days are filled with coordination meetings, ideation, and I would say I try to think a lot about the strategy as well, or I wouldn't say a lot is a good expression. I try to think more from a strategy. So I think it's been a long way from me being just an employee towards me being a freelancer and doing everything by myself, accounting, sales, implementation, coding. Gradually it evolved into me trying to do both things and realizing that it's really impossible to do serious development if you have 3 meetings or more during a day. So my day is mostly coordinating teams, organizing developers, ensuring that the atmosphere in the company is good. I'm very proud of the teamwork and the way people collaborate and communicate together. This is something that we invest a lot on. Also, something that's probably a new thing for me is this way of thinking, combining engineering and management way of thinking. I think many engineers try to think about managers like their enemies or like something that's not real work, and I maybe struggle with this. So right now I try to pat myself on the back. After a day filled with meetings, it really was work. Initially I tried to see this, all these meetings, and now I have to work. So this is also a new thing in my life. Also, something that I really enjoy doing is thinking about, just like the way you assemble a program is you write some boring function, then some other boring method, and I would say the work itself might not be the most interesting. So I don't know, you need to find a method that stores an array or something common. But then I really enjoy these moments when you bring all these pieces of a puzzle and then they come together and become alive into this system that's taking an input and doing something really smart with it and producing a good output. I'm trying to do the same, but maybe with the company now. So talking to people, learning what they like, putting them in a position where they will be able to shine, use their talents in a good way, and kind of create this puzzle that works well together. So yeah, it's a global village, just like we said. I find it fascinating. So even 10 years ago, I think 15 years ago, it would be difficult to hold live video meetings with Australia. I'm not sure when Skype became the thing with video conferences. So yeah.
Yeah, now we have all the technology to work remote and connect. Okay, thanks for this explanation. And I wanted to ask you one question that everybody is asking: how do you find projects? Because that's a bit, like what? You talk to people, you look on websites, or this kind of, or maybe you have other tips and tricks.
Yeah, so I think it's a super difficult question. So, and there are people who are charging for sales workshops a lot of money, and I think it's impossible to give a good answer in a few minutes. What my personal story was that I just posted my CV and created a profile on a few freelancing sites like Upwork, freelancer.com back in the day. There was a few other ones that I cannot remember. I was also considering joining TopTal, but in the end I started working on Upwork before I actually had time to prepare in depth for interviews with them. And to my surprise, I was able to find optimization projects there. I really didn't believe. My initial goal was simply to be there and do something. I don't know. I know how to code in Java. I can create web services for whatever. So I was thinking, and I did this sort of work initially for, I think, half a year up to a year. And then I landed this big sale of an optimization project. When I say big, it was big for me back in the day. So it's a very niche market, and usually it's B2B. So I'm very proud of this achievement because I had a feeling it was just me, little Goran, trying to sell stuff that are mostly used by big companies, because it's like trucking companies with hundreds of trucks or air transportation companies with lots of airplanes, lots of stuff. So I think I got lucky in a certain sense, because I was there back in 2015 where all of this seemed even more exotic than it seems today in many senses. So remote work, I remember members of my family asking me, when are you finding a normal job? It's not normal to work online, because it's normalized now. It was also difficult to even find accounting services back in the day. And then after a big sale, I think the best tip how to find clients, I would say just put yourself out there in the world and let people know that you're doing things. After the big sale, it's critical that you do a good job, because great client, satisfied client is the best possible advertisement you can get. And many clients afterwards we get through referrals. So this is how we reach it today. Also, we had periods in the development of the company where we were simply trying to say, it's enough work right now. So this led us to maybe not ideal decisions of rejecting potentially great clients, but our philosophy is that we are trying to scale slowly, just to adjust and not risk growing too quickly. My personal experience is freelancing. If you want, maybe we can have a discussion on freelancing, how to start. When it comes to company, I think I'm still in very early phases, and I don't actually feel that I have kind of the authority to speak from here and give advices on doing marketing, because I'm also learning this. And I remember when we discussed it, it's a difficult question. In our discussions before, you were referring to this AI-generated image that somebody posted on LinkedIn. So that on one side you have business people, where They talk about their business problems, unsatisfied staff, poor scheduling, too much time to maintain schedules, a lot of money spent on fuel because of maybe unoptimal routes. On the other side, we have mathematicians, operations research scientists who are kind of discussing in their own very specific jargon, combinatorial optimization, neural networks maybe, is very buzzy now. Algorithms, meta heuristics, and these two worlds simply often don't understand each other because they don't share the language. When I was thinking about this, I feel that if you want to make a sale in this world, I think it's your responsibility as a freelancer or a salesperson simply to learn the language of the business people, because otherwise you cannot. I would say it's a bit entitled position. I want them to learn mathematics. No, somebody whose background has nothing to do with mathematics and is doing maybe a great job in management or something else, doesn't have time to go deep into mathematics. And these people won't Google combinatorial optimization. They will maybe Google scheduling algorithms. So it's simply a matter of learning how to talk with business people, which is also, I would say, in a great deal an art. So, but my firmest belief is that when you are selling, that if you are providing value and if you are honest about this, then it will be appreciated by the other side. So, for example, I'm sometimes a bit disappointed by all the buzz created in this generative AI community, where I think some of the promises don't have substantiation, rigorous science. So whatever we say to the client, we want this to be really backed by very serious science, or even if we don't know the answers right away, then we admit this and maybe offer some experiments to guide us. So I believe in honesty and transparency in communication always, and being serious about promising. So there is this saying from somebody back even in the 50s, where the person said that we are just years away from a perfect machine translation. Even today, it's not perfect at a human level.
But let's maybe talk about optimization, because that's a bit why we are doing this podcast. We are creating awareness how optimization is a very good tool, very powerful. It can solve problems which artificial intelligence cannot, because it's actually two different technologies. So we try to educate, right? Explain, well, this is a good use case for AI, this is a use case for optimization. So how can we do that a bit better? Or is it like people know about optimization, we just, I don't know, we don't need to make any efforts about it? What's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, so I'm personally quite at peace with the fact that our area will probably never be as flashy and attractive as generative AI. So when I talk to my colleagues, I think there is this atmosphere of real enthusiasm and happiness when we see that our algorithm created a really good schedule for a school, for example. And comparing a really good school schedule in the eyes of the general public and this product that creates these flashy images, even animations today, just based on a prompt, I think it's a completely different market. And I think both of them have value, but I'm a really strong proponent of showing the world what we can do, because a good schedule for a school maybe isn't attractive to the general public, and it will never be, I'm sure, but it has huge value for this school, because maybe it solved their problem of not having enough capacity by doing something that seems magical in their eyes, but in essence it's just a good combinatorial optimization algorithm that found a way to work around all the limitations of time and space and available time from teachers. So it can mean a lot to a school, for example. It maybe it's just very close to being almost impossible to schedule, but somehow it works out for them, and everybody has enough space. It can maybe mean a lot for the lives of teachers who will have a better work-life balance. It might mean a lot for children who will maybe have more humane schedules and be happier about school, and then their parents will be also happier. So I have almost more than 10 years of experience in this area, and time again I've seen huge impact and transformation in organizations. So the value of this is not just maybe better schedules and savings of maybe potentially millions of euros if you do good routing, but also transformation of a community and transformation of a company. Usually in companies, I tell that there is this triangle of interest. You have people creating the schedules, sometimes manually. You have the board of the company who typically wants to save money and thinks about money, and you have the staff who thinks about better working conditions. And I've seen it really possible that you can make everybody's lives a bit better. So people doing schedules can get them more quickly. Also, people doing schedules get very analytical feedback about this. So yeah, I also think maybe creating more demos would be a way to make it more popular. There is a lot of open source libraries that you can use even as a help with selling. So for example, if you approach a school or an organization that needs automated scheduling, timetabling, or a trucking company, I think if you start talking about mathematics, no, these people are not even there to learn this. They want value from you to help them do the algorithms that will work for them. So demonstrating what this can do, I would say, is super useful. I prepared a demo. If we can do, I have a short school timetabling demo at some point,
we can
if you
see
want.
it, but I can make a comment about this, because that's exactly how AI is gaining traction. Because you just open ChatGPT, you write something in your own language, not business language, not tech language, just your language, and then you get a lot out of it. You just need to learn how to ask better questions. That's the only skill. So I think with optimization, we somehow would be desirable to go in that direction. So yeah, if you want to show something very quickly, that it's colorful and happy. And
Yes, it is. So I'm intentionally using a very old version of a library that's currently known as Timefold, and I really love it. Back in the day, it was known as Optaplanner, and so I'm no longer technical, and they now actually have a much better visual representation in terms of web application that really works. But even this tool I used back in the day as something to illustrate what we are doing. So here you see actually a school or a university course timetablings problem. So if you go past, let's say, the old-fashionedness of this GUI, which is Java Swing, which is really old-fashioned, you can see beautiful technology. So you have this room view where you have a number of rooms. In this part, you can see my mouse, right?
yes.
And you can see the time slots, so Monday through Friday between 8, etc. And then here you have a number of these courses, mathematics, economics, etc., that are unassigned. So the task of the algorithm is to assign them to somebody, and imagine assigning all these manually. So this is, let's say, I would say a small example, because only 200 lectures. Doing this manually is probably a week's work or at least a few days. And the beauty of optimization is that you can just click solve, and after a few seconds, actually you can see that this optimization algorithm or artificial intelligence actually created a complete schedule for you. Also, what I love about this demo is that it shows you the quality of the solution. So people with background in operations research will know that we have to wait before it becomes zero hard. So I love this demo because it really shows the, I would say, impact of what we do. So something that was 1 week before is now done in, let's say, less than a minute. Also, something very important is this button here, because the value of this is not just having better schedules, but receiving formal feedback about schedules. Because if you're approaching your schedules in a manual way, then it's usually a person assembling these guided by some sense of intuition. And management part of the companies, they usually talk in terms of these KPIs or key performance indicators. So the approach of optimization is essentially to agree on what does it mean to have a good schedule for us, and then this view here can illustrate this in a heat map view. So for example, history here, they say no indictment, it's Timefold jargon. It's a perfect shift, or not shift, this is the scheduling context, sorry. Whereas, for example, German, we have a problem with room stability because there is this rule that says that children and teachers prefer to have German always in the same room. They don't like to shuffle around. So if you think about any organization, it's very easy to model these things mathematically. And I think the difference between showing this or just talking about why optimization is drastic. So I really love Timefold, and it's not only Timefold. There are many other open source optimization libraries, but I think they're a great demo and a great open source optimization library that you can use for Sirius to model your other problems. So,
Yeah,
what do you think?
Make like a short video of it.
Do you want to buy optimization software?
Yes, if I'm a school, for sure. Because I imagine it's also not super expensive. You can do it with the open source solver. So you basically just need somebody who knows a bit optimization. That's why I'm encouraging people, because a lot of people write to me and say, well, we don't know what to do. We need experience. Well, go out there, like go to your school and ask them, do you want me to make your schedule? Then come search on the internet, get the code, the open source, because Timefold is open source. And then you have a project already. So there are a lot of places like that. And I think this is a great example because everybody has been in a school. So they know to go and talk. So yeah, that's a great example of how we can bring more optimization to the world. Okay, so now to wrap up a bit, what do you think was the biggest challenge for you now in building the company? Or something that you learned from?
So I think, well, on a very personal level, I would actually maybe even say that I didn't trust in myself enough initially. So I'm very careful about giving this advice to people, because if I tell to everybody, yeah, just go freelancing, it's going to be amazing. No, it's not all fun and games, and we have difficult situations. Yeah, if you don't have considerable savings, and it's ideal that you maybe start with a work. For me, I would say it was sometimes maybe difficult for me to compare myself, especially if your competition is a huge company that has thousands of people. And I have a feeling that this is something that changed a lot as compared to 10 or 15 years ago. So I would say 10 years ago, there was usually these few very big market players that sell their software to also huge market players, very B2B. So it's really difficult when you're just starting to find such big clients. So maybe be more self-confident, but also still while trying to be aware of the risks. Also, something that I learned only after starting being a freelancer is that there is even this well-documented phenomenon, psychological thing. It's called like CEO loneliness, or loneliness of people in leadership positions. So usually when I was an employee, then it's very easy to say, oh, my boss, he's doing a terrible job, I would do this twice as better. And then once you get to a position of your boss, then you become aware of, oh, so it's this level of responsibility. It really is difficult. And it's much easier if you have people around that can understand you. So initially for me, it was difficult because my feeling was that I'm probably the only freelancer in the entire region of Zagreb, because this sounded so exotic. But then I found a community. So, and also a part of this loneliness still happens now, because it would be silly if I, as a CEO, come to a meeting crying with two junior developers because I'm facing some difficult problem in a company. It was never as dramatic, but my takeaway here, and a way to solve many of these problems, is just to surround yourself with a supportive community, which I found in this freelancer community in the city of Zagreb. Also, find good collaborators. So, for example, a nice partner which will understand the specific problems of your company.
Yeah, that's very insightful. So just join people who are like-minded, so the community. And then, if possible, find a partner to share the responsibility, because it is a big responsibility. And indeed, when you have an employee, it's first the responsibility you have to pay them, because they also have bills and so on. So it's not just about how you are a good manager, but how you you fill in the salary at the end of the day. So yeah, it's a big responsibility, but you're doing great. And yeah, that's why I wanted to share your stories, because I think it's important that we talk about this. Again, it's about community, about sharing. So our OR colleagues, they see that, yeah, it like, the point is that I want to show it is relatable. Now, I'm not interviewing Elon Musk, because then when you talk about that, it's like, well, I will never be there. But they can do what you did. And yeah, it takes a bit of time, some courage, risk taking. I guess you also enjoy it, so it's like a part of who you are, and you feel it fits the way you are, your lifestyle, and so on. So there are a lot of factors. But I like what you said. It's not easy. It's not all fun and games. So, but I think in the end, people who think they should try it, they can always go back to a job. So trying, you test it, see if it's good for you. If not, or you go to a job, you go back. So it doesn't need to be like a final decision. Today I decide to be a freelancer, and this is the end of it. It's just trial and error, talk to other people, watch our podcast, and so on. Okay, thank you very much, Goran, for the lovely interview. And yeah, let's keep, how do you say, spreading the awareness about optimization and about this community, that there is a community, we can support each other and keep moving.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Thank you very much.